Evening, yes, amen. We're starting tonight, page Kuf Nun Dalet, opposite of page 306. Reuven, let's see if you can figure out where we're going to start from. There we go. There we go. Okay.
Good guess, right?
Lahavin Mashakasu B'Shari Yechudim Perik Beis. To understand that, what it says in the Kisvei Arizal and Shari Yechudim Perik Beis. Ta'idei Teira Shalei B'Kavana Nevroim Malachim Be'elam HaYitzira. That through Torah without Kavana, we create Malachim in the world of Yitzira. Okay, so let's talk about this a little before we continue. Thank you so much. This takes us back to Tanya L'Kutei Amarim, Prakim, Lamed Tes, and Mem. So over there, in Prakim, Lamed Tes, and Mem, it talks about Kavana and how important Kavana is. And it says over there, as when you learn Torah, when you daven, you do mitzvahs, right? And you do it with Kavana. So then the Kavana has the potential to take up the Torah mitzvahs, becomes the Gadfin, it becomes the wings, and takes it up all the way potentially until the world of Bria. And that's if it's the higher level of Kavana. If it's a lower level of Kavana, well, over there is Dechilu or Rechimu Tiviyim. Higher level of Kavana, Dechimu or Rechimu Sichlim, when it's intellect-based Ava. So lower level, which is instinctive-based Ava, so then it takes it up only to the world of Yitzira. And over there in the world of Yitzira, or in the world of Bria, wherever it goes up to, it unites with the Elokus, the godliness, which is the Yutzfiris, which is within the worlds. What if a person learns Torah without Kavana? So there it says, it doesn't go, then it cannot, the Torah cannot connect to the godliness, the Elokus, the Yutzfiris in the world, but rather, Torah, Shalei b'Kavana, when you learn Torah without Kavana, by the way, just a very important, something which we said many, many times, but to repeat, when we say Kavana, we don't mean mindfulness. We don't mean that you have Kavana, that you're doing something with intention as opposed to just mindlessly. Kavana means, in Tanya, is always Ava and Yira. Kavana meaning the motivation for why I'm doing it, and the motivation for a Yid. The proper Kavana for Torah, mitzvahs, davening is always Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem, that's the motivation. I love Hashem, so I want to connect to Hashem, and I connect to Hashem through doing mitzvahs, to learning Torah.
Kavana is not Lishma?
Kavana is Lishma.
Correct.
And the other Kavana, the other wing, is Yira, which is a Yira for Hashem, Yiras Hashem. So once again, if you learn Torah with Kavana, or daven with Kavana, so then it could potentially go up even to the world of Bria and connect to the Yutzfiris over there in Bria. But if you learn Torah without Kavana, so then it only goes up to the world of Yitzira, where it does not connect with the Yutzfiris there, but it does have an impact over there, and it creates Malachim. So Malachim are created from the Torah, which we learn Shalei b'Kavana.
This Regala Malachim?
Apparently so. So what do we have in Pirkei Avos, right? When you do a mitzvah, so you create for yourself a Malach, as they state, right? V'sham hevi mazayir, and over there in the Kisvei Arizal, it brings down there from the Zayar, Parsha Shlach. And what does it say in the Zayar? The less kala the is avid chulu. There is no such thing as a sound that gets lost, that gets wasted. Every single sound, interesting, any sound that was made from the beginning of creation, it still exists. And by the way, today we know, maybe we understand a little better today with sound waves, right? That's a physical thing, we can't see it, but they're physical sound waves, and sound waves are created and therefore remains in this world. Bar, what is the exception? There is one type of sound which does not stay in this world, and that is that Kala the Eiraisa, which Leisa, the sound of Torah, the sound of davening, the solik that goes up, Ubaka Chulu, and it pierces the heavens. So we have over here that the sound and what?
What means Koda the sound?
The Isavid Milmashin Avuda, Aveda, yeah, that gets lost. Everything, it stays here in the world. It doesn't get lost. Mashenki and Tefillah goes up to heaven. V'hinei mikavanas, that's been a gate to learning Torah. V'hinei mikavanas atfila nivru malachim be'elam habriya. How about when you daven with kavana? And again, when we're saying kavana here, what do we mean? With Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem? So from that also, nivru malachim be'elam habriya, you create malachim in the world of Bria. K'mei mikavanas ha-Torah, just like when you learn Torah, you create malachim in the world of Bria. The same thing is also when you daven with Kavana.
Kavana, it's not understand the words?
No, that's what we're saying. When Alter Rebbe says kavana, he means a different kavana. He means your motivation. Oh, but like kavana, but if you daven without kavana, nitchis lemata legamri, then the davening gets pushed down completely. And it says in Zohar and Parshas Pekudei.
No meluchim even also?
What?
No meluchim even without kavana?
No. Goy rakiat atah hulu. That when there's a tefillah that has no kavana, so there's a mamuna, there's someone who's in charge, and pushes it away to the lowest heaven possible. It goes into the lowest heaven possible.
Answered?
What?
Praise and not answer.
It's not talking about the prayers being answered. We're talking about how high in the higher worlds it goes. The ikr installation psilon, because these davening, a davening without kavana, is called a pasla tefillah. V'ayin sham Parshas Vayakel, and also in Parshas Vayakel in Zohar, Daf Reish Aleph Amud Beis. Ihi mila kedekayeyos chula. If the words of davening are proper, then the malach goes and takes it all the way up to heaven. If not, it doesn't go anywhere. And the obvious question over here is, what is the difference between davening and learning? When it comes to learning, even if you learn without kavana, you're still creating malachim in the world of Yitzirah. That means that your Torah goes up to the world of Yitzirah and has an impact over there and creates malachim. But when you daven without kavana, it doesn't go up. What's the difference? If you have kavana, then it's the same. Then both of them go to the world of Bria and connect to the Lakus over there and create malachim. But without kavana, Torah is one thing, and davening is something else. So what's the reason for the difference? So let's do it first outside, and then we'll do it inside. When a Yid learns Torah, without kavana, so they're missing a very powerful propeller. Kavana is a propeller, right? It's something very powerful. But at the same time, there is also nothing that's holding the tefillah down. Why? Because what is the person? The person's not doing anything wrong. The person is sitting and learning Torah. And what is the person's mind preoccupied with? The Torah that they're studying, right? And there's another element which is over here, which is that every single year, deep down, every year does have a ava misoteres, does have a hidden love to the Eibishter. So because there's nothing holding it down, therefore it can go up, not all the way to the world of Bria, but at least it can go up to the world of Yitzirah, and over there it can create malachim. But when a person davens without kavanah, so what are the chances that what's going through the person's head is machshava zaris? When you're learning, you're not thinking machshava zaris, because when you're learning, you're focused on what you're learning. But if you're davening without kavanah, chances are that what's going through your head?
All over the world.
All over the place, right? The shopping that you have to.
We said it's not this.
Second. If you have Pirush Hamilos, then it's similar to Torah. It doesn't say it here, but the Alter Rebbe says over here is that the problem is machshava zaris. The one person has machshava.
But in terms of davening without kavanah, didn't you say before that kavanah means your intention, not necessarily
The Alter Rebbe is
not necessarily
right.
knowing what the words mean and really having.
Right, but here the Alter Rebbe is. It seems that the Alter Rebbe is linking the two. Apparently with Alter Rebbe, the logic over here is, if you're davening to Eibishter with Ava and Yira, then you're paying attention to what it's saying. And if you have no Ava and Yira, then your mind is wandering. That's just the regular. That's what usually happens.
But your intention is to fulfill your obligation of davening to Hashem.
Yeah, that's
thanking Hashem and.
Right.
So
first of all, that's Yiras Hashem right there. Yeah. If you're doing it to fulfill your obligation, if that's the intention, then you have Yiras Hashem.
Right, but at the same time, your mind is wandering around, but still your underlying intention.
Right, but we're not talking. You're making a correct point, and we're going to talk about that soon. But we're not talking about underlying. We're talking about the conscious intention. When a person is conscious, think about it for a second. If you're thinking the kavanah, the words of the davening, so you're feeling Avos Hashem, you're feeling Yiras Hashem. A davening without kavanah, again, can you tell me it's possible a person is thinking Pirush Hamilos and they don't have any Avos Hashem? It might be possible, but it's not common, right? But that'll call the two go together. If I'm thinking about the words, I'm feeling Avos Hashem, I'm feeling Yiras Hashem. And if I don't have kavanah, so I'm thinking machshava zaris. What's the problem with machshava zaris? So here, the Machshavas Zaros block the tefillah from going up. They actively block the tefillah from going up because Machshavas Zaros are klippa. So again, when you're learning Torah, even if it's Leil Lishma, you're sitting down because you have a geschmack in learning in Gemara. You're not thinking, you're not filled with Avos Hashem, Yiras Hashem. But at the end of the day, there's nothing blocking it from going up. There's nothing negative going on over here. And not only there's nothing negative, there's the underlying also Ava Mesuteres that every single Yid has for the Eibishter. In davening, the reason why davening without kavanah doesn't go up to the world of Yitzirah and make malachim is not because it's missing the kavanah, but because there's something blocking it from going up, which is the Machshavas Zaros. And Alter Rebbe is going to say that we find a parallel to that also in learning, which is what? The Zohar tells us, we know that it talks about Ma Yisrein la'adam b'chol amalei sheyamel tachas hashemesh. You know, what advantage does a person have from all of the work that the person does, all the toil that the person puts in, tachas hashemesh, under the sun? So what's the implication? That there is a certain amal, there's a certain toil which is not tachas hashemesh, which is higher than the sun, and that there is an advantage to it. And what is that? Torah and davening. As I stated in Zohar, when you daven and learn, that's taka, that's higher than the sun. In other words, that's a ruchniistic, it goes up to the heavens, so that taka is advantageous. But the Zohar tells us that Ovid begin Yikrei, that if a person is learning Torah, and he's learning Torah, not only you're not learning Lishma, but you have the wrong reasons for learning Torah. What if you're learning Torah because you want to make money? Like what it's saying, right, in Pirkei Avos, Adishtamish, B'tag Acholaf, right? You're learning Torah because this is, or you're learning Torah because you want to become a Rav and you want to get famous and you want to have honor. Sometimes a person can be learning Torah because someone else said a Chiddush and they're sitting down with the Gemara. And what's the purpose of their learning?
To get
To frag up another person. These are mamish klipa dike kavanas. It's not, when a person learns to, then the Zohar says, then in such a case, then taka the Torah is also tachat hashemesh. And the Torah also doesn't go up anywhere. So what do we see? That also on learning Torah, if you learn Torah shalei lishma, without kavanah, but you're learning Torah, there's nothing wrong with it. You have no negative, you have no wrong kavanah also. So then the Torah goes up to the world of Yitzirah and creates malachim. But if you're learning Torah with a wrong kavanah, so then, again, just like the davening can't go up because the Machshavas Zaros are blocking it from going up, the same thing is the Torah also can't go up because that kavanah, that selfish, ulterior motive that you have is blocking it from going up.
Does he get schar mitzvah?
What?
Does he get schar mitzvah?
So
I mean, it's being blocked, but what about, does he get schar mitzvah?
who knows, who cares? If to get the word schar out of your...
Does he get a mitzvah though?
if you're doing the mitzvah for schar, that's also shlei lishma.
But does he get the mitzvah of Talmud Torah?
Yes.
That's-
Which is why la'ilam yilmid adam Torah shlei lishma, right? B'teich shlei lishma bal lishma, right?
Yeah.
And as Alter Rebbe explains we'll talk about this more a little later on in this page. But absolutely, a mitzvah is done, yeah, and sometimes a mitzvah can be in klippa. A mitzvah can be in galus and klippa also. Yeah, we learned
It's
about
still a
this.
mitzvah though.
It's still a mitzvah, yeah.
But it's an inferior, it's
It's in galus, and you need to do tshuva to elevate that mitzvah or that Torah.
what's the ticket for tshuva?
We'll talk about this. We'll talk about it as we continue in this pedic.
You have to be parents.
We'll talk. No, it's the end of this pedic. We'll
Yeah.
talk about it. Yeah. So Kuntres, so what do we have? We have three different madrigas. We have Torah and Tefillah, which is Lishma. Torah and Tefillah, which is Lishma, goes up to the world of Bria, connects to the Yud Sfiris over there, creates Malachim in Bria. That's if it's Lishma. Then there's Torah Shaloi Lishma, but there's also nothing blocking it. You're sitting, you're learning Torah, and your mind is filled with Torah, but there is no Lishma. That goes up to the world of Yitzirah and creates Malachim over there, but does not connect to the Eir and Saf, the Yud Sfiris over there, and only the world of Yitzirah. And then if there's something blocking it, for example, if you're davening with Machshavas Zaros, or if you're learning Torah with a wrong kavanah, then it doesn't even go up at all. That's the three madrigas that we have. Let's do this in second. Second line from the top of page 308. Sasson, you understand what's going on? However, I have to explain Torah, Tefillah, Shlei B'Kavana. What is the difference in Torah and Tefillah, Shlei B'Kavana? Moving Meilav. Alter Rebbe says it's really self-understood. Kilim that Torah, when you're learning Torah, who mavin v'yadei mashalemet. You're learning Torah, you understand what you're learning. Because if you don't understand, it's not called learning. Raks, only shalem mitztam, b'lei kavana l'shma. You're learning stam, without the kavana l'shma, ma'avas Hashem shebelibay, b'bechines gilui. That's there is no avas Hashem revealed in your heart. Rak, only what all there is ma'ava misuteres hativis. There's only that hidden natural love which every single yid has, very deep within the neshama. However, we're not talking about someone who learns mamish lishma. In other words, he's learning it to become a gadol. Because taki, if you're learning shalei lishma mamish, in other words, you're learning to become a gadol. So then that taki doesn't even go higher than the sun. As it says in the Zohar, Parshas Vaychi, Daf Reish Chav Gimel Amud Beis. Excuse me, v'hainu mashum. This is because shemachshavtei v'kavanasei, that your machshava and your kavanah mislapshes be'esis hadibur, they enter. The esis hadibur ve'einan maniches eisei l'sal kalela, they're not allowed to go up. V'hachi nami, the same thing is b'tfilah shlei b'kavanah, same thing is when you daven without kavanah. Shemachashav machshava zaris, if you're thinking machshava zaris. So what's worse? Davening without kavanah and having machshava zaris, or a Torah learned lehiskadol, learned to know for honor. They both don't go up anywhere, right? Because they're both being blocked. So which one is worse? By the way, yeah. Again, both of them don't go up because a davening without kavanah is blocked because it can't go up because of the machshava zaris. If you're learning Torah with the wrong intention, you're learning it to become a gadol or to make money or whatever forever for a selfish reason, also doesn't go up. But which one is worse?
I think it's tefillah.
Davening.
So Rebbe is going to argue that the Torah is worse.
Wow.
Why is that? So a person is davening without kavanah, and the person has machshava zaris. But let me ask you, why is the person davening? Why is he davening?
To connect
He wants to fulfill his obligation of davening.
Exactly. So it's for the Eibishter. Even though that right now there is no kavanah, his galos revealed in his heart, and maybe even has machshava zaris, but the fact that the person sat down to daven is because he's a yid, and that's what the Eibishter wants him to do. When a person learns Torah lihiskadol, why is he learning Torah? Not because the Eibishter wants him to. He's learning Torah because of his ulterior motive. Davening ultimately is not about your ulterior motive. Yes, both of them are blocked from going up because both of them have something blocking. The davening has the machshava zaris, that's blocking, and the Torah has the ulterior motives, but the Torah is worse.
Why?
I will explain why. Because in the Torah, the Torah, at the very root, the reason why you're sitting down to learn is a wrong reason. You're sitting down to learn because you want to become a god, not with the Eibishter. Davening, at the very least, even if you have machshava zaris during davening, the fact that you're davening is because the Eibishter wants you. And that explains something interesting. The Arizal tells us, so I davened, I didn't have kavanah. What now? Here's like this. You have a full year from after you daven. So let's say I did a Shemana Esrei without any kavanah today. Right? Let's say Chafei Cheshvan, right? Good. I have until Chafei Cheshvan next year. If from now until Chafei Cheshvan next year, I daven one Shemana Esrei with kavanah, and not even whole Shemana Esrei. If tomorrow I say Ata Kaddish with kavanah, and 3 weeks later I say Rifa'enu with kavanah, and 6 weeks later I say Sim Shalom with kavanah, if from the entire year we can gather one entire tefillah with kavanah, then that one tefillah which is collected takes with it all the tefillahs on its shoulders, boom, and it's my lit.
That's retroactive.
Retroactive. On the other hand, if I learn Torah lihiskadol with ulterior motives, it doesn't help that I'm going to learn later that same Torah. It's not going to elevate it. I need to do tshuva. I need to actually do tshuva. The only way to elevate that Torah which I learned is by doing tshuva. Why? Why is it easier to elevate a davening? Even though both the davening machshava zaris and Torah with ulterior motives both don't go up, but it's easier to rectify the davening. Why? Because the davening, again, originally, at least, the very reason why he sat down to daven is to serve the Eibishter. And therefore, the davening is easier to elevate in hindsight than is the Torah that's learned lihiskadol. Sheldon doesn't like this.
Yeah, but But the learning, even without the proper intention, ultimately brings the person to have intention. So
And that's what the Gemara says in Pesachim.
Yeah.
Yilmaid Torah v'yasik b'mitzvah shlei l'shma shem teich l'shma l'shma b'al l'shma. And as Alter Rebbe explains here on Kutei Moharan, what does that mean? Eventually you're come to do it l'shma, and when you do it l'shma, you're going to do tshuva, and you're going to elevate everything that you did. So yeah, always learn, always daven, always do the right thing. But we have to understand what?
that's part of the tshuva, though, that you're learning like that, even though it's not with kavanah.
No, we're not talking about when you do it without kavanah. We're not talking about learning without kavanah. Learning without kavanah, as we just said, already goes up to the world of Yitzirah and creates malach. We're not talking about when you learn without kavanah. We're talking about when you learn with the wrong kavanah. You learn to push it for a selfish reason. Then that selfishness, you push it have to do tshuva for it in order to elevate it. As opposed to davening, you don't need to do tshuva. All you need to do is make sure that over the coming year, at least one tefillah, and it can be collected from everything, and then it becomes elevated. Let's do this.
Tshuva helps retroactively also by, let's say you do tshuva a year later, 2 years later. Retroactively, would it help all the learning you did with ulterior motives?
Rabbi Reuven, you tell me the answer to that question.
Maybe, yeah, I think so.
Doesn't
If it does help for tefillah retroactively.
Tshuva, no, you don't need tshuva for tefillah. Again, for davening, you don't need tshuva. For davening, all you need is, if you have davening in machshavas zaros, that for over a full year, one complete tefillah, with kavanah, it elevates retroactively.
It's all retroactively.
For Torah, you need tshuva, because Torah, again, is worse, as I explained the reason why. Yeah. For that, you need the
But the
tshuva.
tshuva would
doesn't
fix retroactively.
Reuven, does tshuva fix retroactively?
Yeah.
Does it? What Avera does tshuva not fix retroactively?
Can't think of
Chil Hashem.
There is no such thing.
Chil
no
Hashem.
such thing.
It fixes Tzul Hashem also. You still have to be punished because there's a kapara that has to happen. But in terms of a person makes a Chil Hashem, does tshuva, you go up to heaven, and that's. But the point is, for certainly, yes, tshuva does help.
But doesn't saying avos with kavanah constitute kavanah for davening? Even if it's just the avos.
That's to be yoytze the davening. That's a different thing. That's in order to be pasha to be yoytze the mitzvah of tefillah, you have to have kavanah, the pirish hamilas of avos. And by the way, that's a different type of kavanah. That's pirish hamilas. You don't have to have avos or yira. That's a different thing. We're talking there. That's to be yoytze. Here we're not talking about whether you're yoytze the mitzvah or you're not yoytze the mitzvah. In other words, let's say a person learned davening with machshavas zaros. Was he yoytze the mitzvah of tefillah? And again, as long as he had in mind B'Psei Chesed Achon Shema Yisrael and avos, he's yoytze, right? We're not talking about being yoytze the mitzvah. Yeah.
What's the
Shalom.
chasson of the machshavas zaros by the tefillah?
What's the chsaron? Machshavas zaros, they're not kedushas. They stop at they stop it from going up to the higher world. Machshavas zaros can't go up to the world of Yitzirah. As long as you're learning Torah, there's nothing bad. It's Torah, it's a good. Elamai, you're missing your kavanah. The Torah lane is good. The Torah itself is good, so it can go up. Machshavas zaros doesn't have a place in the higher world. It blocks it.
So it's very important to know the Pirush HaMillah when you daven.
It's important to know the Pirush HaMillah, but here he's saying even more than that. It's important that before you daven, you stop for a minute and you think, Dalaf Dei Miato Eimed. As it says, as it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, that before davening you're supposed to think of Reimus HaKel, the Shiflos HaAdam, the greatness of the Eibishter, the lowliness, and I want to connect to the Eibishter. I want to serve the Eibishter. I have a Yiras Hashem, and then it's davening with Ava V'yira. Let's do this inside. Ella, and we're doing the parentheses. Ella, because when you're davening, the reason why you're davening is l'shamayim. L'kach yesh la tikun bikal. So therefore, it's easy to be misakin a davening without kavana. L'achzir v'lalis. It's easy to be misakin it so that it goes back up. K'shmispal b'kavana. When you daven with kavana, afilu tefila achas. Even in one davening. Milkatas mitfila, it's called hashana. Even if it's collected from the davenings of an entire year, Kameshikaso is brought down in the Kabbalah Sefer. Mikdash Melech Parshas Pekudei. Okay, Adkan, we're good. Yeah, we understand why davening Shlei L'Shma doesn't. Why davening Shlei L'Shma doesn't. We change the times. We start with now we do learn 8:30 to 9:30. Sorry for. I said we changed the time. Now we daven 8:30 to 9. Not that we learn 8:30 to 9:30. 9:30. Yeah. It's fine. I mean, I walked in case you're wondering why we're already learning. So I'm explaining to you why we're learning. Yeah. Okay. So now we what? Till 9:30. Yeah. So now we understand why it is again that davening without kavana doesn't go up at all, and tefillah and learning without kavana creates malachim. That we understand. As we mentioned in the beginning of when we started Kuntres, remember we said over there that that the sons of the Alter Rebbe write that a big part of Kuntres is the Alter Rebbe is going to resolve different stiras, different contradictions that exist in the words of the Zohar and Kisvei Arizal. So here also, the Alter Rebbe is going to bring down. Now we're going to resolve some stiras. This, what we're saying, is the conclusion the Alter Rebbe arrived at, and which the Alter Rebbe writes about Kutei Amarim. But it's not so simple, it would seem. For example, if you take a look, even in the very two pieces of the Zohar that we quoted, if you take a look on the last page, the last line on the previous page. So there, Kuf Nun Daled, opposite of page 306. So if you look over there, the last line, there the Alter Rebbe quotes from the Zohar and Parshas Pekudei. And what does it say over there? That davening without kavanah, where does it go? Goy Rekia Tata. It goes into the lowest heavens. Look at the top line of the next page. There the Alter Rebbe there quotes the Zohar and Vayakel. What does it say? If it's a proper word, then it goes up. And if not, it doesn't go up at all. So that's a contradiction right there. Which one is it? Does it go to the lowest heaven, or does it not go up at all? Alter Rebbe says, in Parshas Pekudei it says that it goes to the lowest heaven. With Parshas Vayakel Mashmam, in Parshas Vayakel, the implication is the dafke ihi mila kidikayoyus. If the words of davening are proper, solkin ima ad avira derekia de leila. It goes up until the ear, the space of the heavens above. So l'chleira, it's a contradiction. So Alter Rebbe says loi kosher midi. By the way, this loi kosher midi, which we're going to have a few times. Also, in the next, you don't have that kind of language in the rest of Tanya. It's like kosher midi is the kind of language that you find when you're learning a Rashba, you're learning Psanayda Bihuda. When you're making a pilpul in Nigla, over here, Alter Rebbe is using these words. You see, it's Alter Rebbe is writing in the style that he writes in Kuntres Acharon and Shulchan Aruch when he's trying to resolve differences in Pesachim. It's a different language. Like kosher midi, that's not a problem. Why?
The Gemara said la kasha.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right. Yeah. The Rekia Tata Me'ilun Rekia the Madbri Goy Alma. When the Zohar says, the Zohar in Parshas Pekudei says that the davening goes to the lowest Rekia, the lowest heaven of those heavens that.
Excuse me, Rabbi, we're on Kuf Nun Dalet.
308. We're in 308. The first one line is the Rekia.
Okay, thank you.
That davening lakavana goes to the lowest heaven of those heavens, the medabri ge'alma that run, that manage, that handle, that are in charge of this world. That is what it says in Parshas Pekudei. Hein malchus dasya. The lowest heaven, when it says that the davenings which are without kavana go to the lowest heaven, that is malchus dasya. With the Parshas Vayakel, and Parshas Vayakel, when it says it doesn't go up to the heavens, hein zod dasya. That's a higher level, zod dasya. As it says in Eitz Chaim, Shara Shemes Perigimel Gabizod Asiya Ein Sham. So the Alter Rebbe is saying, yeah, the truth is that when you daven with Akavana, it does go up. But where does it go up to? Only to Malchus of Asiya. And that's what it says in the Zohar and Parshas Pekudei. And when Yaakov says it doesn't go up to the heavens, it's talking about a higher heaven. There it's talking about Zo of Asiya. Why is that significant? Because Malchus Asiya, the world of Asiya, the spiritual world of Asiya, is the world that's directly above our world. There's Asiya, the spiritual Asiya, and then there's our world, which is the physical Asiya. So Malchus, which is the lowest level of the spiritual Asiya, is our direct source. It's our direct source. So to say that the davening goes to Malchus of Asiya, that's not the davening really transcending our world. It's just going to the source of the world. It's not going beyond. It's not going above the world. So therefore, in Parshas Vayakel, when it says that the davening goes up, it means, it goes up to Taka, the lowest heaven, which is Malchus of Asiya. And Parshas, in Parshas Vayakel, that's in Pekudei. And Parshas Vayakel, when it says it doesn't go up, it doesn't go up higher than the source of our world. It can't go up to Zah of Asiya. So that's one contradiction resolved. Now the Alter Rebbe says, another problem. The Zohar says in Parshas Pekudei, the Gam Tefillah Pesula, that even a puzzle davening, which means a davening like kavana, eila ad hechel harishan. He goes up to the first chamber, shememenu nitchis lamata, and from there it is pushed down. And we know that the first chamber is in Zod Bria, in the middays of Bria, which is, forget about Asiya, forget about Zod of Asiya, it's higher than Yitziris Bria. So now we're finding out that a puzzle davening actually goes up to Bria. But we just said it doesn't go up at all. How are we saying a pasla davening goes up to Bria? So again, this is the Alter Rebbe. When the Alter Rebbe wrote Tanya, when he reached his conclusions, that Alter Rebbe had to grapple with all of these seemingly contradictory. So what does Alter Rebbe say? Like Hashamidi. As they say in Yiddish, nita problem. It's not a problem. Why not? Shaharei, because afilu kol aveinis mamish. Even Avedis, Kalas v'chamuris, the small Avedis, the big Avedis, Elos l'sham, go up all the way to the Hechel HaRishon, to the first chamber, which is in the world of Bria. And not only to the first chamber, Afilu ad Hechel Hadalad, even to the fourth chamber. It says in Zohar, Daf Reishon Beis Amud Aleph. Elavade, but a certain shein muhus aliyah shavah. So even though that, yes, this is an aliyah and this is aliyah, but they're two different things altogether. Substantively speaking, they're different. There's no connection. They only have the same name, aliyah, but otherwise they're not. There's no connection. Vidal, meaning saying like this. When we're saying davening doesn't go up, when we say our Torah goes up, our mitzvahs go up, our davening go up, it goes up to connect with the Elokus in there. There's another type of going up. Sometimes something goes up to heaven not to connect with the godliness in the higher worlds, but to do damage in the higher worlds. When we do Averis, they also go up. But they go up to do damage. So when the Zohar says that when our puzzle of davenings go up all the way to the world of Bria, it doesn't mean they go up for a good purpose. They go for a bad purpose. They cause damage over there. So yeah, the word aliyah is the same. We say Torah mitzvahs go up, we have kavanah, they go up. Averis also go up, but other than the fact that the word aliyah is the same, it's two different things altogether. So therefore it's not a stira. When it says davening doesn't go up, I mean it doesn't go up in a positive way. It does go up in a negative way, just like Averis go up in a negative way.
I don't see how you can say that. There are times in a person's life when he doesn't feel like davening, okay? He just can't get into it. But he still has to daven. So how can you say that his davening in that case is in a negative sense? He still has to daven.
Start over. There's sometimes, what are you saying?
I'm saying, how can you say that davening, even without proper intentions, is in a negative sense? He still has to daven. Sometimes a person just doesn't feel like davening. He's depressed. He has a lot of problems. He just doesn't feel like he can daven properly. But he knows that he has to daven. He has an obligation to daven. He has an obligation to thank Hashem for the good things in his life, and he's davening.
He's doing it.
So that sounds like a kavanah right there.
It's a kavanah, but at the same time, he has other things going on around in his mind, and it's not the proper kavanah that we usually think of.
Right. Do you know that the Rambam says that tefillah without kavanah ain't a tefillah? And as Reb Chaim Brisker says, the Rambam doesn't say tefillah without kavanah you weren't yetze. He doesn't say that. He says tefillah without kavanah ain't a tefillah.
I would
So how do you?
contest that
But there's
also.
always kavana. There's always kavana, but
there's always
it's the level
Where-
of
where did-
kavana.
where did-
It's been bothered by.
Where does it say to daven in the Torah?
thoughts.
1 second. Where does the Torah say to daven? Where's the mitzvah? Do you know?
I'll tell you for sure.
Does that answer your question?
I'll have to move. Yes.
So what is avodah shebelev? It's tefillah. So if it's not avodah shebelev,
Yeah, but you still have to daven.
okay, I'm not disagreeing, but you're expressing this bewilderment. But this is not even a chiddush in Kabbalah. The idea that the essence of davening is kavana. And without kavana, again, not there's certain mitzvahs we say that there's a, you weren't yotze because a certain tanai was missing in the mitzvah.
Again, it depends on what you call kavana. In the beginning, you said that kavana is just having the intention of wanting to.
So I'm telling you, kavana is l'avdei b'chol levavchem. Ba'avas Hashem Elokeichem l'avdei b'chol levavchem. But there's Sheldon. So go daven. I'm not saying chas v'shalom. Go daven, and you'll do tshuva. You'll elevate it. As we find out, you don't have to do tshuva. If you daven with kavana, you elevate it. But your next tefillah, you do it with kavana, you elevate it. I'm not saying not to daven, but the idea that you could do damage with a mitzvah, which doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Always do it. Always do it, because the mitzvah is done. The idea you could do damage. That's one of the big. That's one of the big ideas in Kabbalah. That it's not only about doing it. Kavana matters. Kavana makes a difference.
Yeah, but there's onus of communicative, there's onus.
Yeah, and first I'm left on the mitzvah, and after that, and I said next, that's mincha. You don't have to do tshuva. As we say.
What if you're not zoicha to do tshuva?
Again, you don't. I said you don't have to do tshuva. That's what we said earlier. That davening without kavana, all you need to do is over the next year, one tefillah collected with kavana, and it's mile everything.
It's a big privilege. The whole year they let you perfect yourself. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Why is that? Because ultimately what Sheldon is saying is correct. The fact that you sat down and davened, that's a big difference in learning and davening. When you learn, why am I learning? Because I have a geschmack of learning. Or I enjoy it. Davening, you're sitting down to davening is an act of submission to the Eibishter. You gain nothing from davening. And that's why it's so much easier to elevate davening to the kavanah than learning without kavanah.
So nitkas lamata means that it goes up and still down. So
Yeah.
There's a guy who comes straight up.
Yeah. But the shaila was how did it even get up? And we said that Elisavik Leila. Now that we see that sometimes you can have the same words that are used, but they have different meanings. In other words, the word aliyah is used in different places, but sometimes it means a good thing, a bad thing. Al Rebbe, like Derech Hagav, is going to mention another place where you have something similar. But now that we understand that sometimes you have one word that's used in two different contexts, and even though it's the same word, but it means something else entirely. That which it says in the Zohar, in page 247, that in the second, remember we were speaking about the Zohar talks about different chambers, the first, the second, the third, the fourth. The first is the lowest, second is higher. So it says in the second Heichel, so here, whoever printed Tanya, it seems that there's a mistake over here. Either Izdamin HaMemuna Al HaLavushim, which means over there is where you have the one who's in charge, the Malach who's in charge of the garments for the Neshama, or Kayamin HaLavushim, that's where the Lavushim are. Bottom line is, either the Lavushim, the garments of the soul, are in the second Heichel. There's actually, I believe that in the Zohar itself, the different Gersois there also. Shemalbishim HaNeshama, the garments that they dress the Neshama, Memaisa HaMitzvahs, as we know, we learned this earlier on Tanya and Simon Chavtes of Igar Sakoidish, that in order to go into Gan Eden, you need to have Levushim. Neshama needs to have Levushim. And the Levushim is, sorry?
I'm telling you.
Yeah. The Levushim of the Neshama are created by the mitzvah. So where are those Levushim? So it says those Levushim are in the second Heichel. Which, by the way, the second Heichel, we already found out is in the world of Bria. Even though that Commissioner is Bar Sham Dafri Shud, even though that we know, as explained in Zohar on page 210, that the Levushim are for Gan Eden Atachtin, which is the world of Asiya. So which one is it? The world of Tzmamish, you see the Alter Rebbe, the Pilpulim the Alter Rebbe is making in Zohar and trying to break everything down. He doesn't even answer it. He says, so we see the same thing here also. Yeah, so the Levushim are there. Talk to the Levushim are in the world of Bria. Gan Eden is in the world of Asiya. Somehow or other, the Neshama has to go to the world of Bria in order to go into the world of Asiya. You have to understand, just because the Neshama goes somewhere, something goes somewhere, it doesn't mean it's the same thing. V'hinei tefillah psula. Alter Rebbe is now going to go back to the original thing. What did we say earlier? That a pasla davening adifa m'Torah shleilosh mamish is better than Torah, which is learned for an ulterior motive. Shehi tachas hashemesh, because the Torah, which is learned with ulterior motive, is called tachas hashemesh. V'atfila hi goyra kiachula, and davening goes up without kavanah, goes up already to the lowest heaven. In other words, earlier we said that tefillah without kavanah, it's easier to elevate it. one tefillah of over the entire year, as opposed to Torah, which is learned with the wrong kavanas. You need to do tshuva. Here, the Alter Rebbe is saying, even if you didn't elevate or do tshuva, we see Torah, which you learn with the wrong motive, stays mamish down over here. Tefillah, even without kavanah, it goes up to Malchus Havasiyah, which is the lowest of the heavens. And when we learned this in Tanya the first time, I'm sure that I mentioned the famous story about the Baal Shem Tov. They say that he once went to, came to a Beis Medrash, and he's about to go in, and he says, I can't go in. And they ask him why. He says that there's no room for me. He said to me, there's no room. It's empty. Not no one in there. There's plenty of space. He says, the room is filled with Torah. There's no place for me. It's kind of a funny thing to say. People want to go into a place, it's a mukim Torah. What is Baal Shem Tov saying? The Torah there was learned with the wrong reasons and didn't go up even to the lowest heaven. It's all stuck in the shoulder. I can't get in there because the Torah is all stuck there. It didn't go up at all. Aval Torah stam, but when it comes to Torah plain, it's not that you did it shlei lishma, right? You didn't do it for an ulterior motive, but it's not lishma. Rak ma'ava misoteres tivis, but that Torah, what's motivating you to do it is the ava misoteres, the hidden ava, the natural love. Lei gara mehevel pian shal taneka shal beis rabba. Alter Rebbe says we know that the Gemara tells us that you can't compare the limited Torah of adults to the limited Torah of children. Limited Torah of children to taneka shal beis rabba, the children who are before the age of bar mitzvah, is a hevel she'ein bechet. It's breath that isn't tainted, it isn't sullied by sin. And therefore, the whole world actually exists because of the Hevel Tanekah Shel Beis Rabban. We know that. We don't even stop them to build the Beis HaMikdash. The question is, little children, when they're learning Torah, they're learning a Shema? No, why are they learning it? The Alter Rebbe says, they're learning it Meyiras HaRetzua. The reason why they're learning is because the Malamed, this is the good old times, right? The Malamed held a Retzua. He had a strap in his hands, and if they didn't learn,
Get it.
yeah. And nevertheless, there's no question that this Limdat Torah goes up, and it's precious. V'harai, the world is sustained from it. So Alter Rebbe says, what's the key over here? It's Hevel She'ein Bachet. It's breath that has no Aveda. What does that mean? There's nothing blocking it from going up. There's no Chet. So we see that as long as there's nothing blocking something from going up, it does go up. Verstehst? So machshava zaras blocks something from going up. If you have learning Torah and you're learning it for the wrong reasons, that's blocking it. But if you're learning Torah not for the right reasons, but also not for the wrong reasons, then it does go up. So that's what the inside. Aval Torah stam, but Torah stam she'eina shlei lishma. Rak v'avam misoteres tivis lei gara. It's no worse. Mehevel pian shal tanekah shal beis rabba. The saluk leila. That why does it go up? And neishu hevel she'ein bachet. So we see that if it's the breath that has no aveda, there's nothing impeding it. The saluk leila, and therefore it goes up. Even if it's shlei lishma, meyiras haratzua shbiyad hasefer. It's because they're scared of the strap that's in the hand of the teacher. Ayin sham daf reish on him and here the Alter Rebbe says something even more. Take a look. Shamalachim heimayim ahevel shatanik shbisrabin and atzilus. The Zohar tells us that when children learn, that the malachim, because there's something special about children, the malachim take it up all the way to the world of Atzilus. So what do we see? That as long as there's nothing blocking it, it has the ability to go up. And in fact, by Tanekah Shel Beis Rabban, it goes up even to the world of Atzilus. So here there's something with the Frierdiker Rebbe says, and something that he heard from his father, who heard it from the Baal Shem Tov. Why are you looking at me like that?
Goes that back. Oh, goes back that far.
His father, the Rebbe Rashab, heard it from the Baal Shem Tov.
4 generations.
That's the 1600.
The Rebbe Rashab was born in 1860, and the Baal Shem Tov passed away in 1760. And the Rebbe Rashab heard this from the Baal Shem Tov. You want to know how he heard it from the Baal Shem Tov?
What?
Said, you want to know how he heard it from the Baal Shem Tov, even though that he passed away 100 years before he was born?
Yeah.
Tzaddikim have ways.
I was actually
That's why I was wondering.
Yeah.
wondering that very point.
Yeah.
He heard it in the name of.
No. He heard it from the Baal Shem
That's
Tov.
amazing.
He said like this.
That's why.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
We think about Tanekah Shel Beis Rabban that their breath is special because it's a hevel she'ein bechet. Meaning what? It's coming from a person. The breath is coming from a person who doesn't have any sins. Baal Shem Tov says there's something deeper over here. Not that the breath is coming from a person who has no sins. The breath has no sin. There's something special about the learning the Torah of a child the pshitus, the emunah, that when the kid learns chamas aleph there is no question. There's that utter acceptance, that utter bittul to what they're learning. That's a heva, and that's what's so special about it. And that's why the malachim take it up all the way to Latzilus. What's so special about the limit Torah of children? So they have no chet, they have no sins. It's not only they have no sins. The breath of the Torah that comes out is the perfect limit Torah. And Hashem said, this is not something which is only for kids. Adults can also have a hevel shein b'chet. When you learn Torah, but with a tmimus, with a pashtus, with an amunah, and accepting of every single word. By the way, accepting of every word doesn't mean that you can't ask a shayla. But you can ask shayla. But even when you have a shayla, there's that amunah that you have, that every single word is Torah Samas, and this comes from the Eibishter. That's a hevel shein b'chet. And that also, if we learn Torah in that way, then our Torah also, the malachim, can take it up all the way into the world of Atzilus.